Okay, we'll call the Information Technology Committee meeting to order. And first order of business is to accept the minutes from the February 25th, 2025 meeting. Sam moved, Dave second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Information Technology. A few items here.
So we have our reports. I believe the first one you might have in the packet is the projects report. That's the first one you have. Yep. So for the projects report, we have a couple of them that are completed, our backup system upgrade, as well as the camera upgrade for public health. So we have several in motion, as you can see. I don't know if anyone has any questions on any other projects. So if none on there, then the next report we have is the ticketing report. This is the standard monthly one we do. I'm thinking about possibly being able to bring something a little more, I don't know, something a little different. So you might see things mixed up a little bit in the next couple of months. I just want to try to be able to show value, and our new ticketing system has some nice reports in it that maybe with some graphs and stuff like that. So I'm looking into that right now to see what might be able to just be a little bit different and better.
IT is always a higher one for obvious reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but it looks a little higher, right?
Yeah, we've had some big projects lately. So what goes under IT is anytime we're doing IT related stuff. So like the backup upgrades, for example, that's something that would fall under IT. We just completed that. So there was a lot of hours in that. We just did an ISP upgrade, which took some time. That would be in there. So anything that's for the whole county, we always put under IT.
Okay. Any questions?
So the next is the cybersecurity report. I did want to take a minute on this and just mention, you can see Ryan's notes about the pen testing. We finished the penetration testing. They took all of their equipment and we shut it all down just at the beginning of this week, just yesterday. So they're done and we're waiting on the final report from them. Once we get the final report, we'll be able to share. So, but I thought it was really good. You know, we all want to look at our freckles, right? And how can we be better? That's the whole point of doing the penetration test. And we didn't have many, but I think there was a couple that we found once we let them through that, will just help us to continue to improve. So I think it's a great exercise. Looking forward to being able to do that every year. Any questions on the?
Will they go around the whole state and do a test at every county?
They have to sign up
Every
for
year.
it. So.
Oh, you sign up for it?
You have to sign up and then, get scheduled and everything.
Right.
But I believe they will if they want, if they sign up for it.
Well, I didn't know, that takes a lot of manpower to do that.
It does. Yeah, it was 4-week engagement, I believe, altogether. Started on the outside and then they came on site. They were on site for several days and then they left equipment here inside our network and then continued to work remotely. So it was good.
Good.
Just depends, I think, on the Department of Homeland Security that does it. So I think all the funding and everything, it just depends what happens. Glad we got it in when we did.
Are there any new things on the horizon that, it seems like every once in a while you read about a new way of getting into things? Is there anything that you know of that you're on the lookout for?
Well, there's always new things out there and they're always exploiting the vulnerabilities that are out there. So nothing new in particular, other than with AI, things are getting better.
Well,
Like the emails, you used to be able to say, oh, that's definitely written by, somebody that doesn't speak English as a first language, and you can't say that anymore. And so some of the emails, which is the biggest way that people get into the system, is to trick people. And so those are getting better and better. So I think our training has to get better and better. So, just to keep people up on the latest threats.
Yeah.
And I have to say, we have a great team and, everybody in the county, we get so many reports on a daily basis of phishing type emails that it's really great. I mean, it only takes one to get through, but, people are really becoming aware. which is awesome.
Any other discussion on cybersecurity? Okay. Purchasing approval request.
Yep, so I have our annual quote for our SIM, which is our it's essentially it's managed detection and response service that we pay for. That is $63,025. It goes over the $50,000 cap. It's on Sourcewell, but because it's best value, we're not able to do it without approval from you folks. So I wanted to bring in to request approval for, is it a waiver? It's not a waiver.
Waiver, I think you were requesting a waiver, so you didn't have to get the 3 quotes.
Oh, yes, because it's on Sourcewell, and because to do that is just, to be really candid with you, the way that IT purchasing works is that you have a vendor such as SHI that does what's called deal reg with these big vendors and for these quotes. And so we could go and try to get a quote from CDW or the others. They're gonna, and we've done it. We do the exercise every year. It's such a waste of time for the vendors. I just feel bad because they know we're not gonna buy from them and the quotes are double because they don't get the discounts that SHI does. And it is on Sourcewell, so it is on contract. And we just felt that this was the best way to be able to move forward and be respectful.
The quotes that you received last year, one was, I think, 165,000, and then the other one was 419,000,
It was
right?
crazy.
And the SHI was 61 or 63, as you put it.
Yeah, and technically we did a 2-year agreement, so this is the 2nd year of that agreement, so.
This is have to be moved to finance.
To award it. Yes, we'll need a resolution. Actually, keep going.
So to save Dan some time here, so he's fully charged to go for the next meeting afterwards. Is this in this year's budget? You
Yes.
got a budget in,
Oh, yeah, I'll budget it.
so we need a motion to finance. I'll make that motion, Chairman.
Okay. Second, Tim. All right. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Other business.
That's all I have unless anybody has any questions for me.
So just,
I have a question, and this is basically just that probably what I'm gonna have to do at some of these meetings from now on is remind everybody where we're at. So last year, when we passed the budget, we had certain discussions. One was that we're gonna see the contracts in the 26 budget go over $1 million. Was it the jail? I can't remember the contract we took on that was gonna add a huge sum of money. That is gonna, so it was included in this year's budget with the purchase. Next year it expands it, so we're going over $1 million in that one line. So we're up $500,000 or so. So I want to remind everybody that's coming, and we also were looking to do the update in public safety that we were gonna do if the Schumer money doesn't come through, and there's no fund balance left for that. So I just need to make everybody aware that I don't know how we're getting there. We have to form where all our deficiencies are before we can get a plan to pay for these things that we thought we were gonna do.
Did you mean the CAD system?
Yes,
So that project's in motion. They're actually on site starting today, tomorrow and Thursday. So we did that in the fall.
until the Schumer money didn't come through yet, or we don't know yet.
I don't know, I'm not aware of the Schumer money.
So that's a case where if it doesn't come through, that is fund balance, if I remember right.
I think
So
it's a
that's,
capital project that we did for last year.
well, there's no
Oh,
money
didn't-
funding it, I don't believe that they're
Oh,
out.
gotcha.
You're looking for that grant award.
Yes.
And as far as
And
I
if
know.
it
we've
doesn't
not
come through, we're out another whatever amount of money it is.
Yep.
So just keep all those things in mind. I'd like to be able to write all these down at some point. I'm just going off the top of my head today because I know it's only March. But that means we have 9 months left to finish the year, hopefully in the black. Doesn't look possible at all.
Is the sheriff project the Black Creek that you were talking
I think
about?
so.
The jail
I
upgrade?
think it was, I think that's the one that added a huge sum of money to the contract line. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline that we've talked about, but we haven't seen on paper what they're gonna be in the 26 budget. So, you know, and anything you can get me that shows me the ones you know we're gonna expand the contracts, that would be appreciative too, I think. I mean, how we're gonna come to a plan, it's gonna take a lot longer than October and September this time. We're gonna have to work on this as we go along. So that's all I got.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about is a congressionally directed member items that was included in the budget now, that went through appropriations. And if it works the way I think it works, it should require you continuing resolution they pass for the rest of the year, so you might be able to call Schumer's office. Steve Mann will be able to find out for what the status is.
And
Yeah, this has nothing to do with this committee, but it has to do with the picture you're painting, Brian, and so I wanted to bring this up for everybody to think about. Is it wise to be preemptive if we're gonna be in the red before the end of the year, which you are saying is a high probability? Should we do a hiring freeze now to try to control that, how much red we're in? It is not to be answered here, that question. I want everybody thinking about it, and I think that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, and I think it's a good discussion, but I think the other question is how much revenue do you lose by doing that? Does it offset? You'd have to take a look to see what that actually does to you. And I don't know.
Well, the only place would be in social service, really. The hiring freeze, I mean, it doesn't
Well, I'm
impact any
saying,
place else.
well, you'd also lose money in sign council, or not sign council, but public defenders and some of those.
But if you're short in the millions, you're serious, you know,
Oh, it's serious.
right?
any other discussion? Charlie?
Hi, thanks. We spoke last week about possibly when people are starting to use the Microsoft Artificial Intelligence Copilot. Do you have a rollout plan for that? Because after our conversation, I went out and made sure I understood the difference between Copilot and GPT.
Mhm.
And it's remarkable what productivity you might be able to gain. So how are you going to educate? I don't disagree. Commissioners and the director.
Yeah, so we don't have a concrete plan yet. We're in the plan of writing the policy for the county for acceptable use. And then once we have that, then we'll be looking at which ones we want to allow within the county. Right now, they're fairly restrictive. And I believe Copilot's probably the answer, maybe ChatGPT, but one of the biggest things gonna be is education. And so once we have the policies in place, then we'll look to start setting up some classes. We'll do them virtually and we'll do them in person for people, probably start with the department heads and then roll out from there.
Okay, so Copilot and ChatGPT makes things so easy, especially when you're writing stuff. How careful we have to be because they're using sources of information all out there. You know, the information is only as good as what it really applies to us. And how are we gonna monitor that to make sure that people are actually reading and researching what's being produced?
My understanding also is if you use AI to do something like that, you have to list it as a source. That's my understanding anyway.
So after our conversation, I did a little digging to understand the main difference. Copilot is a locally sourced information tool. So it will only have access and has free use of your file system that has been trained on how to write from the outside. And everything that you do with Copilot is proprietarily. You don't have the issue of creeping out. When you go to GPT, it's very interestingly different. If you create something on GPT, you may not even be able to copyright it as your own. But everything in Copilot is your own intellectual property and your own file system. And that's why I'm quite interested in how we're going to.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I think it'll definitely have a lot of conversation to be able to figure out what's gonna be the right fit for the county. And education, I think, is gonna be huge. Cause it's,
and productivity. So if a commissioner had access to everything that you allow her to have access to, which could possibly include all the emails, all the files and all that, of every one of her employees, she can do things that she never could have done. Productivity is absurdly possible. That's what a very interesting area to go on.
yeah,
Does it make us more mentally lazy by relying on it?
It's a tool. And we can be very lazy with tools, or we can be very creative with tools.
I think it's already happened, even with cell phones, like you look at your cell phone and how many numbers you have in it, and how many of those numbers do you know? I found out the other day, I went to go list my daughter's phone number, I'm like, Oh my gosh, you should know that, you know? It's crazy that.
So
you just don't
Copilot
dial them
also
anymore.
works with Microsoft, right? Isn't that the big advantage that it tie right in totally with our
Fits
system?
right in with our schools, yeah.
And sorry, I wasn't here when the meeting started, but are you planning on going to the NACO conference in Pennsylvania?
We weren't planning on the one in Pennsylvania. I just heard about that one. It wasn't on our travel plans for this year. We could potentially, but I honestly don't have the budget for it. If that's a conversation we could have, it's something we would be interested in doing. There is another one in Poughkeepsie. That's also not technically in our travel plans, but the conference itself is free. And it's put on by Dutchess County and Marist College. That's an AI summit as well. And we are planning on going to that one in June. Because that's just a single overnight travel. I think we could fit that in.
Any other discussion? This has been very informative and scary. The other. Okay, we're adjourned.
Sue's nervous about making season.
Right.
Lunch.
Right.
Seamus too.
So I would like to call the meeting to order, and the first order of business is a motion to adopt the minutes as mailed. First by Jim, second by Tim and Sam. Any further discussion, corrections, and omissions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Department request. We'll start off with Lisa.
All right, so I have two personnel requests. I'm going to go to personnel committee. The first one, should be good. The second one, after Mr. Campbell's talk, it might be a little bit of a stretch. So we had an employee in the county clerk's office, an account clerk that left in December. Okay, we have not filled that position. We are maintaining with the staff that we have. And we felt that so we were using that person to be an account clerk in DMV and in the county clerk's office. What we would like to do is we have currently a clerk down in archives who was a temporary employee, doing our laserfish scanning. What I'd like to do is keep her on as a clerk, not an account clerk, and keep her down in archives. And the reason being is that we are seeing with our projects that we have, we are always going to have scanning that needs to be done. We've now partnering with all 17 towns and villages, plus most of the I think just about all the departments here in the county. We really need someone to help our archivist with answering questions about laserfish, maybe going out to different sites. And this will give us an opportunity. Now, with the grant from this past year to this year, her salary until July 1st is part of that grant, and so are her benefits. So there's no cost. And actually with, keeping her a clerk instead of an account clerk saves us approximately $2,184. She would like that position. She's gonna do the testing and all the requirements through personnel. But that we're hoping to start July 1st. It also allows us, if we don't get the grant, because grants are not guaranteed, we can still continue our work that we've already started without being beholden to a grant. That's the first.
So my first question is
Sure.
that we applied for another grant, is there money in there for a clerk?
Yes,
So it would cover that.
yes. So the
We
plan
shouldn't
is
count on
to make her the clerk regardless. And if we get the grant, then we're gonna hire the temporary clerk for a year to go with the grant, because then salary and benefits are included in that grant too.
Motion by Tim, do I have a second? Jim and Lance and Sam. Any further discussion?
I don't fully understand what you said. Are you changing, what are we changing here?
She's taking a senior account clerk position
Or account clerk.
Account clerk position. and making it a downgrade to a clerk position,
Okay,
saving the county $2,100. If we get the grant,
well, now, wait a minute, the person retired is account clerk, right? And we have already the clerk hired part-time or something? What?
No, the clerk that we have, the one that we'd like as of July 1st to be continue to be our clerk, she's a clerk now, but that's paid through the grant.
Right,
We want to keep her for the rest of the year And
with the grant
future-
or without the grant?
without the grant. She would be replacing the account clerk that we haven't had since December,
So you have it in the budget.
which we already had in the budget,
So we're changing the staffing pattern from an account clerk
to a clerk.
So you're downgrading, is that what it's
Yes,
called? or-
it's a grade 8 to a
Okay.
7.
Right. And so she's going to be, her position now changes also. She's going to be working, not down in archives. Oh, she still is going to be
She's still gonna be
working,
in the archive.
and no longer being paid by the grant.
As of July 1st, she's no longer paid through the grant.
But
She'll
her
be
title
using
is-
the funds that I had already budgeted in this year's budget as an account clerk in the clerk's office. So we're not adding, we are just downgrading the role from an account clerk to a clerk and keeping her down, but she's still under me.
Sam?
Yeah, I guess my thought is on it is that, and I don't know how much more aware that your supervisors were. I took a look at the mess that you inherited down there that needed to be scanned.
Mhm.
And history alone would prove if you let that stuff backfill, you run into the same issue.
Correct,
So we have already made an investment to get up to date as best we could.
yes.
And I think that, with the additional revenues you will bring it in on a constant basis now, as that
Right.
goes up within your department. And I don't know, do you know where you are? That's probably not a fair question, because you weren't, gonna be asked this originally, I don't think, but where you are on monies above last year at this point in time?
Well, I can tell you in DMV, we are up 1,800 transactions in 2 months. That means online, that means in person, that means Dropbox, and that means by mail. We are also up over $20,000 in 2 months
So,
of revenue from last year, which was up higher than the previous January, February time. Last year, we ended up the year up in DMV 115,000. I think we're kind of holding steady with the clerk's office. It's very subjective because you have like real estate transactions may have decreased, but then we picked up the background checks that we do for a host of places. I think that was $19,000 that was revenue that was brought in last year that we didn't anticipate. That started in like March of last year.
So there would, in theory, there would be enough there to cover this throughout that, after the July period,
Correct,
until we find out if you get the grant.
right.
And then we could actually make the decision if they're not,
But either way, is
you wouldn't be
if,
slipping behind.
if we don't get the grant, we're not, it's really not going to cost us any money because this is already budgeted for
Right.
the account clerk. We're just kind of changing where the needs are. And the needs are down in archives. They're not so much at the office. We have streamlined so many things and we're cross-training. That's another thing that we've done is we're cross-training, so everybody knows everybody's job, so that when someone feels the need to take vacation, they can come back and know that, you know, the place.
Right,
in
I'm
their
just-
lives.
Just, I was a little like Dan, just a little confused.
Yes.
So the accounting clerk that's left, that's all being covered, and
Right.
this new clerk position is handling other clerk positions. It's not picking up some of the accounting.
Correct, no,
Okay.
no,
I was a
they're
little
doing none of
confused
it.
on that.
What the account clerk was doing was we had them go over to, DMV, they do the morning deposit, they do the audit desk.
So that's covered.
So that's covered, that we're having, senior and, people who are looking to move up in the DMV. They are being trained to do that. So we have a small number that are doing that kind of work. And then in our office, the biggest thing was we have a morning deposit, which myself and the deputy do, or the second deputy now.
So when you say now that you're training some because they want to move up, does that mean we're gonna come back to an account clerk position
Nope.
back in again? Okay.
No, it's part of the responsibilities of being a sub supervisor and,
Okay.
and you know, and Julie Hunt says she's not staying forever. So she's gonna be, we're always looking to see who wants to move up, who has the ability to move up. Part of that is doing that audit work in that audit desk. And he said, they know registration versus all the other things they do.
Scott, we got you.
Kind of a two-part question.
Sure.
Is this a title change for that employee? And if so, is that, will that affect the grant?
No, it's not a title change, their clerk is a clerk.
So that's not a specific grant for archives or anything?
No.
Okay.
I just want to tell you that this tailoring your structure of your personnel to your mission
Right.
and also focusing on career development, I want you to know that's scandalously forward-looking. I don't know if you'll be sure.
Stop.
All right, enough picking on her. Al?
So I apologize if I'm being thick.
Yes,
What I heard you say was,
yes,
you're gonna take an existing clerk
yes,
and pay her with the money that was budgeted for the account clerk.
yes,
So if there's any staffing pattern change at all, you're not gonna remove the account clerk from your staffing pattern. The clerk is already there.
Correct.
You don't need to change from account clerk
Okay.
to clerk. The clerk already exists.
okay.
So unless you hire another person, you're asking us to remove the account clerk from your staffing
Yes.
pattern.
Right.
Because the
Yes.
clerk that's funded by the grant already exists in your staffing pattern.
Correct,
It's just gonna be funded different.
correct.
Okay, so the motion would be to remove the account clerk from the staffing pattern. Thank you.
I'll move it.
Move by Sam, second. Second by Lance and Jim.
When'd you do that 10 minutes ago?
I tried 10 minutes ago.
All
Hi.
Go, Scott.
I'm trying to help.
So I'm a little thick too.
No, you're not.
Is,
Net savings, $2,100.
What's that? I understand that part, but if the grant comes through this year, you're going to hire another clerk.
Another clerk, but it's tied in with the grant. And if we don't get the grant, there is no clerk.
So it's
We
conditional.
will continue to do the work using the archivist, the person that we are now making a permanent clerk. And we in the clerk's office also help with prepping documents for the grant. So we're part of that too.
Al?
Thank you, Mr. Hahn, for that question. My advice then, if that's the case,
Mhm.
is to do nothing tonight.
Okay.
Because if
We can do
you're gonna
that.
come back
I've been
again.
working at this for a half
If you
an
come back
hour.
again, if there's
And I
a-
finally thought I got it figured out. Now we're even walking away
So
from
If
it.
you're gonna have to come back
Okay.
after the grant award, it's better
Yes.
to just wait.
Until.
It's better to come back just a month. Yeah, so my advice today would just be wait, see if you get a grant, and then come back with that staffing.
But it's still,
So we don't.
Why didn't you tell us that? in the beginning?
well, hold on a second, it's still not gonna change, he wants to take the account clerk. and
Make her a clerk.
get rid of the
She already
account
has the clerk that she needs.
Yeah.
Right.
So she was gonna remove
The
the.
position could just.
The only change she needs is account clerk to clerk if the grant comes, so let's wait for the grant. to come. The clerk that she needs, that's already on staff, is already in the staffing pattern.
Right.
Okay, got it,
So there's no action needs to be done until the grant award.
okay.
I think the actions are needed to run the motion.
Yeah, yeah.
I hear wisdom coming from the.
Let's draw the motion.
Maybe not the last question, but. Get a grant, we'll just get more work done in the same amount of time.
You'll get it done faster.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that grant and what I'm proposing this year and where we're going. More of that forward thinking that these two like.
Scott, did you have another question, just to be funny?
I was just gonna.
Oh.
How many more times she could say that $2,100?
Well, well, I got some more numbers for you.
Yeah, Brian.
Jan?
Well, just when I thought that I might have had this figured out.
You started.
So, but if we withdraw this motion, we're not saving $2,100.
We're still.
You're
saving-
saving more than that
saving
because you're not filling a position.
We're not saving anything.
Whoa, we're saving more now by not doing anything?
So the clerk that was funded by the grant
Yes,
is just gonna continue working,
for the grant.
and the grant expires what, July or something?
Yes,
To June 30th.
So half of the year of hers already budgeted, she's gonna just keep continue doing that. So if, worst case, you have the breakage from senior account clerk to clerk from July to December.
but now, here's the thing, if we all had this
You have a whole
figured out,
body- You have a whole
until-
body that's not here.
if we had this all figured out before you said do nothing.
You're welcome.
No, but now I don't think we ever had it figured out, because if we're gonna save $2,100,
Right.
now we're saving more than $2,100 by not doing
The
anything.
$2,100 is the breakage between the account clerk.
I
and
got
clerk.
that part I got.
So not only are you gonna achieve that breakage, but you also are gonna have a whole body non-staffing period for a certain amount of time until such time as another grant is awarded. So you're gonna get that $2,100 position breakage plus the empty body breakage. So you're actually saving more than the $2,100.
That's a senior account.
By deferring it,
By deferring it to the grant, you're saving twice.
I'm gonna drop this and do whatever you want.
See me after the
That's where
meeting.
I'm at.
thank you. All right.
Then
All right,
I'm not
Lisa.
buying it at all.
All right.
There's-
I'll try to explain this next part better. So then the second part is I would like to create a part-time position in DMV. What I'm looking for is to take a retiree, a recent retiree, because they still have the skills of be able to do DMV 2 days a week for the year. And I'm looking to the cost of which will not exceed 18,000 a year. Okay,
Debbie?
Yeah.
CM did withdraw the motion.
Yes.
so we're on that.
I'm getting notes.
Yep, so. So to have this part-time position. What I'm looking to do is, I know the question's going to be. Ryan, where's the money gonna come from? So. We haven't talked about, in my budget for this year. We had this position, this account clerk position, which we didn't fill. Which is $17,000 for the half a year. That goes from December to July 1st. The cost of a part-time clerk is 2 days a week, is $11,667. Okay, between the account clerk going to a clerk, the, not filling the account clerk position for over 6 months, plus with the retiree, the people that are filling that spot are not at the same grade level as the retiree was. That's another $2,200 savings. So $22,094 is what I came up with. And the cost of the part-time position is $11,667. We are efficient down there. We get more efficient every single day. We try to do paperless transactions. But as I've told the committee before, we are going from a spot where we had renewals of licenses this past year in 24 of 3,300. We are going to have expire in Washington County 7,000 this year here. We've already seen an increase, and we get people every day, whether it's a regular non-driver ID or an ID, coming in to get those and renewed. It would alleviate some of the stress in the area for the employees, and it would continue to do what we've kind of pushed in Washington County. We are a small office. We treat people well here. People come here from our neighboring counties. We've had people drive all the way from Essex County down here just so they can come here rather than the other places. And this is no dig at any of the other counties. But they come here for that one-on-one, professional, polite, kind of down home sometimes treatment, without, too much fuss.
What's the date that people have got to get the real licenses?
May 7th this year.
And that also usually requires 2 clerks as part of the transaction.
Correct. It is a 2-person process at least, and we have 1 camera. I've talked to the committee before. It's $10,000, or no, it's $20,000 for the camera setup.
This increase in
Yes.
IDs, so
Yes.
that's also increased revenue, I assume.
Yes.
What's that?
I could put a plug in that if you're going to get either a real or enhanced, get the enhanced. The county makes more money.
Start advertising that.
There you
Melissa,
go.
Can I just clarify, so
Sure.
your request is to add 1 part-time clerk to your staffing pattern,
Correct.
which is mid-year?
Mid-year,
Okay, so to start when?
start on or around the 5th of May.
Okay, so that's the request.
That's the request.
Albert?
Lisa, since there's no, and I apologize,
That's all right.
since there's no urgency to your request,
Right.
would it be beneficial to the board and the committee if we punted till next month? You got together with me, Brian and Melissa.
Yep.
And got this whole spending plan and rearrangement of the chairs on the Titanic in order
Mm-hmm.
before we brought it to committee. Like, you're throwing out a lot of numbers, and I appreciate the work
Right.
you've done,
Right.
but I really would like to take a comprehensive look and give the board maybe a little one-sheeter that shows staffing as is, cost
Right.
as is,
Right.
staffing as proposed, cost as proposed, and give them a true,
Right.
like, global picture of where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense if we can punt for a month?
Absolutely.
Okay,
And can we also have revenue changes in that?
so we can do that. My fear with the revenue changes, it's a spike. And I don't want to fund forever costs with a one-time revenue,
Right.
right? So
Right. I mean, we're looking, the next 3 years, our numbers are going to be out of sight for renewals.
and they're up now. I don't
Yes.
deny that that's true. But I think that the committee would benefit if we could come back with a more global recap of where she's going and what the plan is.
So will you adjust this at the May meeting, or no, the April meeting?
April, please. It would be my ask, Chair, Mr. Fisher.
So I guess then would it go from there to personnel to finance or?
Let's go to personnel and finance, actually create a position. Let's go to full board.
So that would be,
It'd be April.
it would be done April, it wouldn't be afterwards, by the time we had the committee meetings.
It'd be May. It'd be May. Our next committee meeting would be the end of April for the May
Right.
board meeting. Unless this committee wanted to send it to finance and we can get together before finance.
I'd like that because she wants to say, start me the
Then if this committee, if this committee had an appetite, they can move it to finance and we can meet between now and finance.
motion to move it to finance.
I got it.
Personnel and finance. Motion by Sam, second by Jim and Lance. Any further discussion? Ryan?
So you came from DSS. So is the niceness that we have being used for revenue, whereas from the other department, it's being used for expense? Is that?
Are you saying I'm using my powers for good now instead of before?
I'm just trying to make the correlation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah,
I just want to make sure they understand this. So if that grant doesn't come through.
right.
That halftime position would be unbudgeted.
Halftime position
The,
has
the,
nothing to
the
do with.
DMV is nothing to do with the grant. This is an addition, this is a brand new creative position. And the reason why I'm bringing it up now is because we're seeing the numbers and we have the fortunate that we have someone who is retiring,
You know,
who potentially could want to come back a couple of days, fully trained, ready to go.
The reason that I asked that is
Yeah.
because you mentioned that the account clerk position is vacant, which is in clerk's office.
Right. My budget for them is all together,
And-
That's why I was proposing.
Yeah, it's all
in one
staff,
picture, so-
right? Al,
Yeah.
it's all, my staff is all under one umbrella as far
Right,
as,
so county clerk and DMV is one staffing pattern? Yes. Right.
Okay.
that makes sense.
The money, the water is money.
That's why I.
Right.
All right, any other questions? Yeah.
yeah, I want to make a statement. I've known Lisa for a long time. I totally trust her and believe in everything she said. But I'm voting no, and I'm gonna keep voting no, because we've gotta start voting no. Or Brian can tell you, we're facing one incredible shortfall this fall. And I mean, every person is gonna come and ask for something, is gonna have as good a reason to come, better than what Lisa's had. And I respect all department heads, but I'm voting no.
All in favor of moving personnel finance?
Aye.
Hearing no?
Well, no, I was waiting for the call.
Carried.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one thing. I want to point out though that at least Lisa's coming to the table here and turning something in and saying, here's a slot I'm not filling. If everyone's going to come to the table asking for something, but it has something prepared at least to turn in, I think the discussions will at least be a little more productive.
You had quite a discussion.
Okay,
All right.
Lisa, Laserfish grant updates.
Yes, so we are getting ready to submit the request for the 2025-26 budget. Where we're at right now, Fort Ann is all set from last year's. Salem is April 18th. They're gonna be over there. Hebron, we thought was gonna be last week, but there was some miscommunication, but, we're going to get them up and running, and Putnam is also ready to get up and running. The towns for the current season, we met the archivist and myself, and because there's so many towns, it's like eight or nine towns at this point. We are going to set it up based on need. So we're gonna start with the town of Jackson. We felt like they have the biggest need right now. And we're gonna do things a little different. So when I'll use Fort Ann as an example. 4N sent their documents and their binders and their old books to us to be scanned into Laserfish. And then we had microfilm that we sent out to be processed, and then that was uploaded to the Laserfish program. The problem with that is we're dealing with very old books. And the more that we open them, even though we're not intending, and we can use our white gloves, which we use, they're still being damaged. Okay, so we're thinking, instead of, or I say the expression, bring Muhammad going to the mountain, we're gonna, bringing the mountain to Muhammad. We are going to do it this way. We already have the microfilm part. The microfilm for all the rest of the towns carries them, is their vital records and their board minutes from the late 1700s, whenever your town was created, to 1992 or 93. Why that year? Because that's when the microfilm was made. Okay? So what we're going to do is the archivist and the clerk are going to go set up a time to go to your town and set it up right there. So instead of bringing all those boxes and all those documents to the archives, and then us pawing through them, do it right on site, right in your own building. It's gonna be better for your equipment. You know what's being done to your documents and your old books. And it also has the benefit of the archivist is schooled in preservation. She is going to bring all the equipment that you need to preserve your very old books. Okay, so she'll bring the paper, show you how we wrap them and how we keep them. If you choose to have us hold on to, like we currently have White Creeks and we have Cambridge and we have Whitehall, we have their books downstairs. They are wrapped. It's written in pencil on the edge what is in there, so that if we ever have to open it up, we have it. Okay, so we're gonna do things a little different. I think that's gonna be better for the understanding of the clerks and the staff in the offices. They're gonna know how to use Laserfish. They're gonna know how to input the new documents, because they're gonna wanna put all that paper in there, all those, your past 4 meetings. And it's gonna be at a, touch of a finger right there, okay? And our biggest project this year is going to be, we're working with the sheriff's department to help them with their 2,000 something boxes of documents. So we, the phase 1 is going to be the boxes that are located over at the Salem substation, most of which I believe may have come from the Salem courthouse or whatever. But there's 800 boxes over there. So we are going to be working on prepping them and scanning them, working with the staff at the sheriff's office to get them done. Yes.
I don't want to stretch this meeting out any longer than possible, but every time you say Cambridge, it's not the town.
Right.
You haven't done the town yet. So I know before you thought we were done and we're not.
Yeah, that was part of the 2018 or the 2022
Just
one.
want to make sure it's still on. your
Yeah,
radar.
you are on our radar, because I have a couple of towns that have said that we have equipment and they may not want the equipment. So
Yeah.
you're on the list.
Making sure.
You're gonna get it.
So, just one clarification, when they did the microfiche in 1992, that's when they wrapped all the documents. So,
No, that's just a microfilm. The documents were never wrapped. They were not wrapped. When we went down there last year, as Sam can tell you, as anybody who went down there and saw it, can tell you, they were stacked to the ceiling a mile high, and nothing was preserved. It was my staff that went down there and we wrapped them, we labeled them, we categorized them, we sorted them by town, so that we can retrieve them when we need them.
okay.
So that's the plan as far as moving forward. We're also going to, be working with the district attorney's office. They have 100 boxes that need to be scanned and prepped. And, we are sending out some aperture cards, which are maps for real property again this year. There also is a few rolls of film from Jackson, Kingsbury, and one other town. It might have been four. But I sent, no, it was Greenwich. I sent those supervisors the forms, and what the plan is going forward, okay? So that's, we'll find out July if we get the grant. And that's about it.
Any questions, Lisa? Thank you, Lisa, run away quick.
Lives to fight again.
Pat, your turn.
I'm gonna start a little bit out of order. I think I'm gonna just try to do the ones that are standard business first before I get into our discussion.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with a maintenance contract for our chillers. The renewal is up. Usually I would ask for a waiver of the purchasing policy to use Eastern for the service for the next 3 years. We had new chillers installed last year, so I actually had the contract off for the last 2 years, but the reason we like to use them, one, we have, they're doing the rest of our equipment, they also do the controls. So it makes sense, rather than having different contractors doing the service, and it's here. Year one is $12,523, year two, $13,149 for the agreement. And I'd like to waive the policy to be able to sign it and send it back and get our yearly service done before summer.
Motion by Dan, second by Sam. Any questions?
Yeah, Matt. What does the contract include? I know they will come and check things, but what, do they replace parts for that?
They do not replace part. Well, I shouldn't say that. They replace the maintenance item parts.
Like,
If a pump goes down, they don't, that's not included in that fee. So basically, they come here and a service for our chillers lasts about a week. They go, they service the cooling tower, which is outside. They test water, they test the refrigerant, the oils, check bearings.
Is this once a week, you said?
No, it lasts, the inspection lasts a week. Like
Oh,
when
it
they
takes a
schedule it,
week to
they,
inspect.
it takes a week. There's a guy here for a full week. And that's twice a year.
That's twice a year.
Yes, and I mean, I could read it all up. You know, safety controls, pipe strainers, so they're cleaning all the internal filters. They check the pressures, inspect superheat, crankcase heaters, you know, piping for leaks. Motor amperage, everything you need. I don't know if you've seen our chillers, but it's not, you know, standard air conditioner like you see in our house. They're very huge pieces of equipment.
Well, I'm just
They
thinking,
try to do the stuff that, so we don't have a failure when we're least expected. The bearings in this pump are going bad. And we do get a discount on parts and labor. And the other thing we get is the service calls, you know, we're pretty much priority, so. When one goes down, we can get them here and back up. I can go through, I mean, it's pretty lengthy, it's a couple pages of what their duties are, and go through them all.
no, just for 13,000
It is.
basically, and they're brand new, and they just
Yeah.
got installed. It seemed like the first year ought to be free. That's where I
So the
was
first
told.
year is already done. First year stuff is already done, and they didn't install the contractor, you know.
Oh, they
put it out
didn't?
to bid. No, these, so that's already done, so I didn't pay last year or the year before. For a service
Very-
contract because we were getting new ones, so now we're getting back onto the maintenance.
that we've exhausted the contract.
So we weren't paying them the last 2 years for a contract.
Yeah.
Lance?
Have you,
Or Scott?
have you looked at what the competitor prices would be? If-
In the past, we have, and they're very competitive, compared to the competitors. And what we ran into in the past was you call one and they say, well, it's a controls guy. Oh, then they come and they're like, oh, no, that's the mechanical guy. So now you've got three different contractors that you're trying, it takes our time to chase them down. When I originally got Eastern, they were already our control contractor and we met. Basically, I said, you need to own it all. Like, I'm not gonna listen to, well, somebody else. If you're doing the, the plumbing or you're doing whatever service and you're doing the controls, it's you. So we're not, and that's how it worked. And quite frankly, we have a lot of contracts with them, so we do get definitely preference pricing. I do know for a fact.
Pass that. Next. Good. All in favor? Again?
Okay. All right, the second thing is, the Burgoyne project, the owner's representation, we budgeted it. I thought we approved, I went back through the resolutions and we hadn't, so they've actually been working without a contract for the last 3 months since January. It was budgeted, it was brought here, 75,000 for the owner's representation from Labella. And like I said, it is budgeted in the Burgoyne project as that already. I just need permission to sign it, send that back.
Motion for sign it. Jim, second by Lance and Sam. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Now, we're gonna talk about the St. Paul's roof bid that came back, we put it out. We put it out last year. We were expecting around 125,000. For the roof, 100 to 125,000 when we put it out. Our only bid last year was like 400,000, so we denied it, so let's put it back out for the winter. We put it back out, and this time we got a bid for I think it's a base bid is 130,000 and then the allowance is 120, so it's $150,000 contract for the roof. A little bit higher, but way better than it was last time. We have called the references on this company and they've done projects like this where they're capable of doing this. So this is for the St. Paul.
Need a motion on that? Motion by Sam, second by Jim. Any further discussion?
Is it in the budget?
It's not in my current budget.
Where is it? Where is that money, Brian?
But I'm presenting it as we asked, so the money isn't mine. I don't know where.
Oh, no,
I
I'm
don't-
not, I'm just
Right.
trying to find out. We're
That would be
voting
the-
on 150,000.
That would be, right, these guys and where it is. That's right. I agree. It just-
It'd be in the capital project or not be there at all.
What's that?
Who's he awarding to?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Vista.
Yeah.
Vista Design.
Vista Design General Contractor.
Albert, Ryan?
Looking for. Put it in paper. That there's 376 left in the contingency in the capital plan. This would drain a good amount of that, but it's there.
Now, will we have any, with the capital plan, they're covering the barns, highway barns, right?
No, they have their own capital project.
They have their own, so we're covered there.
Barns are covered. The two barns in progress have already been funded.
And Burgoyne Avenue is covered.
Burgoyne Avenue, we borrowed for.
Okay, well, that's right. I want to make sure if we're going to do it, you know, where we got the
Do I
money.
have that right? I don't get it.
So
Okay,
this is to
Brian's
move
okay.
this to finance, right?
Yes.
Yes. And then you'll have it.
All right. Motion to move to finance. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
While we're on, just do some updates quick. Burgoyne Avenue, it's off to a fast start. We're moving right along. Been some normal hiccups that you would, expect with a older building that we're remodeling, but the timeline right now, still real good. Schedule is being kept. Everybody's, working good over there together. I encourage you, you know, if you want to see what your money's being spent on, stop over, take a walk through the building. You'll see it's pretty empty and there's a lot of good things happening, you know, for the future of the building over there. You know, a lot of the demo is years and years of wiring and, you know, sooner IT, I mean, there's piles of wire that are coming out of the ceilings this much. There's a few, you know, problems that you run into. The roof deck on the north end is the trusses are wood. There was a little layer of cardboard type material that was there, you know, above the ceilings. And that had come out, you know, in the asbestos abatement. And when that came out, now the wood is exposed. So we have to add sprinkler heads to above the ceiling to spray the roof for a fire. So we're working on that problem right now, trying to get a solution to that. What's the easiest and most cost-effective way to, you know, attempt it? We do have contingency in our different lines to handle small projects like that. You know, we saw cut through concrete, you know, quite a ways to get to a drain that was supposed to be 4 inches, you know, that came from a drawing or a note from 50 years ago. We got there and it was 3 inch. You know, so we have to go to the 4 inch. We have to find it. You know, sewer district has been helpful. They've come up with their cameras and equipment, you know, to try to find where we can get the 4 inch and stuff like that. So
This sprinkler system is exposed outside or it's a layer between?
now, if you imagine, if you're looking at this ceiling right here, you have to have the sprinkler for down here.
Right.
The wood deck is 4 feet above that for the roof.
Right.
You have to have a sprinkler above the ceiling, a sprinkler head up there that if there was a fire, it would spray so the roof doesn't burn. If the south end is a metal.
You're gonna burn your battery pretty quick.
I've had that on for hours. It never burned anything.
Blind to a few people.
So the south end and the center of the building are all, that's all steel, so you don't have to have it down there. Just the north end.
Okay.
That's just updates if you have any questions on Burgoyne.
How they doing on Target Street?
Excellent. And I had Tina and her crew over there yesterday, giving them a tour. They're pretty excited. And you feel free to stop over. You know, there's guys there working every day. Take a walk through and you'll see how much work is getting done. Right. Middle Falls, quick update on that is the schedule as is right now. Looking really good for like a spring completion of the building. We have one hiccup that just came up. I knew it was gonna happen. It was gonna go real smooth. And that also has to do with the fire suppression system. The tank manufacturer is supposed to be here for the tank that goes underneath the pump house building. Just informed us a week ago that now the new delivery date would be November. So that's obviously not acceptable. We have some different routes we're taking to see what we can do, different manufacturers, maybe a little redesign of the fire system. Don't ask me in my opinion of the fire system. I don't think we even need it, but it's code and that's what we have to do. I have no use for a sprinkler system in a metal building with diesel trucks. To me, it makes no sense, but somewhere somebody made it a code.
Is there any way that Fort Miller?
That's
can do
one of
something?
our options right now.
Because I know the state, when they built their homes for water suppression or fire suppression, they use 5,000 gallon septic tanks.
Yeah,
So
so
Miller.
this, the original is on the diameter. The original tank is designed for the fire suppression system. So basically, there's a building sitting on top of it and the shaft of the pump goes down into this tank. And when we talk about where we build things like there's no sewer there, there's no water. So you have a well. The well can't provide the fire suppression like they can over here at Burgoyne or Fort Allen. You have a village water supply. So you have to have the tank. You know, so it's an extra cost when it comes to not having, your utilities and everything there. But they had to be bigger because it only goes in the static level of the water. It has to be above what the pump is, not exactly the tank storage. The pump doesn't go to the bottom. But right now, just to answer your question, Fort Miller or a cast in place, tank is one of the options that we're using. I can't tell you any more than that right now because we just got it and we're just starting to find solutions. Other than that, we could probably schedule a walkthrough for you guys if you want to. I would say the offices got poured. The floors got poured on Friday. I was down there Friday morning. I would say I think Chris, it's about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks before no, maybe 3 weeks out before they pour the floor. But I'll let you know. I think probably the best will be, if you're gonna go for a tour of it, would be to have a floor to walk on instead of through rebar and pipe and on insulation. But maybe you guys will hear from me soon. Take a look at it. Feel free to drive by and drive around it. It's a pretty sharp looking building. I'm sure a lot of you already have. That's the update on them. We're gonna leave the update on Fort Ann to executive session last, but I want to bring up one other thing. I'm working with Melissa about we talked about the municipal parking lot sidewalk. So we talked about this a couple of months ago, and I'm supposed to bring it back. I was supposed to bring back proposal from the engineers to actually engineer the project. What we did, we broke down the parking lot, pass this around. But you know what we're talking about.
What's coming on?
I got two.
Not for sure. It's pretty simple, just so you know, if you're looking at it. Quick look. So what we had them do is divide the scope up into 2 different scopes. Scope A and B. Thinking about proposal. Basically, employee parking is the back parking lot behind us here. And the entrance over by the mail delivery and the loading dock and all that, and the sidewalks along with the entries of the building on the west side. The public parking is obviously in front of motor vehicles, in front of courts, and it includes the sidewalks and the entrances, the public entrances to the building there. I will throw out there right now.
So plan A is considered the public parking.
That's right,
front.
so-
That would be the first
Yep.
phase.
Working with Melissa, we the most important spot right now would be scope A, which is the public parking area. I got the right one in front of me. No, I actually have the old one.
Did it change from yesterday?
No, I have the one that I asked them to change. Thank you. All right, I put it in there. I have the wrong one.
The all re-engineered from before.
So I will tell you this, that this is not a full scale engineering price. This is, here's what we have already had done. And what they can use, right? There's only so much legally they can use, although the condition of the parking lot has changed considerably, especially the back way. So yes and no, this is discounted because of what we had done before. But it's not a complete re-engineer. The job before was also a bigger scope and it wasn't broken down into these. It was the whole parking lot and in front of the jail or in front of the law enforcement center. There was a lot to that project, if you remember. This is really highlighted by your guys' concern, what the most important sections are in place right now. If there was a C, which we can get at any time, that would be down in front of the law enforcement center.
So in scope A, the number of parking spots? We know that?
I do not know. That
Nothing
would come-
changes on parking, does it?
Nothing changes in
Right.
parking.
Well,
So,
that's was gonna be my question, so I asked that.
Yep.
Because you got the white trucks that take up, and you look out there sometime in the park, and they're taking up a spot and a half,
yes.
but with their mirrors folded in.
Mhm.
So
I agree.
I think that we need to take a solid look at that. And I was
Okay.
concerned about that when we discussed the parking lot for the garages as well, which,
And that would come in, I mean, we have some other options for that. That would come in the engineering phase of how, I mean, obviously, we're gonna leave the parking right here the same. You know, we could do something with out by the road, big trucks, I don't know how you would signage it, but you could ask bigger or oversized vehicles. You could put a sign and have them park out by the road. Whether they listen or not, it'll be up to them. We can't stop them from. I mean, I watch cars every morning park crooked. I mean, a small car parks crooked and takes up two spots too. And then once one starts like that, it multiplies down through. So
yeah, but I
we can
think,
guide them.
I think for what they pay for their trucks, that if there's a bigger spot for their parking, they shouldn't even do that.
Yeah, you think that.
You see them trying to creep
Sure.
between the cars out there.
So you're talking about by the road, you're talking about like DPW there?
Yeah, that's already done. That's not part of the scope. I mean,
Is that where you were talking about having big?
big trucks park. You could probably say, hey, oversized vehicles within there, and try to get them to park.
When you
out
say
there.
that was already done, that's the county paved that right in there, in front of the
The
DPW.
county paved that in front of DPW.
And that come out perfect. County could almost pave another section. You could practice on that, another section. And by the time you get to the important part, it's all paved and we didn't spend any money. Isn't that amazing?
You didn't spend any money when they did it?
Just the blacktop.
We need more than blacktopping,
Yeah.
unfortunately, at this point, because of the condition of the parking lot.
Yeah. And they're not set up to do.
Well, and I'm not
We're gonna
so
leave
sure,
it.
that statement's been passed around, but that's not totally correct. The dry wells, I've been told, are perfect down there. It's the risers that have crushed on top because they were made out of cement block rather than precast risers, which all it would take is a riser on it. And you could level that parking lot out. And I'm only saying all this because I'm opposed to spending money.
I'm glad you got that information, because I don't have that.
Well,
And the drainage is a concern as
It
well.
is. I mean, they're collapsing all around. And it's not just the risers.
okay.
It's not just the risers. They're clapping around the whole, the whole catch basin. A lot of the catch basins are failing at this point. You can see where the cones are when you drive around the parking lot. There is more work than just going over the top of that.
Well,
That, to me, is a colossal waste of money. And most paving companies, just for simple purposes, like some of our small ones, we come in and they say, oh, we'll ask them, hey, can you just pave over the top of that? We will not pave over the top of that unless you let us tear that up and put a sub base in, because we're not going to guarantee it more than the first winter. That's what you're going to get. Is you're going to pay for a lot of asphalt for a short-term 1 to 2 year solution, and then we're going to be right back here again, and you're going to have to mill out 6 inches because you didn't do it before. Then it's going to cost more again.
Well,
We
that's
just keep costing more every time.
That's
we
your
take it down the
opinion.
road. That's my opinion. You're right.
So
Yeah. In the public parking area. We've had an engineer's study done on that already, right, many years ago.
Yep.
And could that be used to just, do a reassessment?
So it's 8 years old, so I have it. I've turned over what I've had, you know, to who our term contract, who we've been using right now. That's the discount, like, hey, this much work has already been done. We can use this much work. We can't use this. We still have to restamp it. Like, if I was an engineer and Sam was in, I can't use his work, it's against the law. And because we paid for the engineering, we do not own the CAD drawings. That company owns the CAD drawings. We own everything but the CAD drawings. The engineer retains the CAD drawing. Because
We
that's what
paid 80,000.
for the engineering.
Yeah.
That contract was
I
signed
think
right before I
Jay-
started.
You and I were the ones that voted no on that. Thought
So-
80,000 was a waste of money.
So Matt's bringing this, to committee today, because we've had many conversations about the parking lot, and I understand that there's a huge cost involved in it, and that's why it didn't get fixed 8 years ago when the engineering study was done. Matt's got the pricing for the 2 phases and then the total amount, and that's just for engineering. But again, if we're not gonna move forward and do anything about the parking lot, we probably don't wanna waste the money on the engineering. The total amount for both parts, A and B, are
4,700.
and if we split it, if we do the A, which is the public parking in the front, how much is that amount?
Scope, the way they have it broken down is actually about, so about half. It's actually half.
So
It's
about-
half of 104, so yeah, 52,
I'm trying to remember.
52,
the exact line.
And this, we keep bringing the parking lot up and it's come up again, and it's not just that we want it to be pretty, black with nice lines, it's because we have had a lot of incidents in the parking lot. We've had a lot of trips, falls, you can walk out there and see the cracks in the pavement, people, trip over those. The uneven sidewalks, we also get incident reports on, people trip over those, if you see the cones, we've got more cones in this parking lot that DPW probably has total. We've got probably 15 over at the sheriff's office. We've got them by the drains. There's a lot of cones that are showing people that there's,
the
safety issues.
pavers are part of this project that go up to all the, the public entrances. Scope B includes also getting handicap access to the back of the building for employees, so they're not taking up the spaces for the public, out here. Basically where goes up to DSS, that whole, courtyard.
And that's part of
Where
your
those
parking
pavers-
issue, probably in the
Yes.
front of the building, is, if an employee has a doctor's note where they're not able to
Yes.
access the building by using steps, they're parking out front instead of in the back area, because there's no handicap access back there.
Just a mechanical question.
Sure.
This includes sidewalks.
Yes.
Is there a reason why we do besides aesthetics? Is there a functional reason we do sidewalks and cement instead of just paving them too?
I don't have that.
Because there are public buildings that we've gone into around the state that, their sidewalks are all blacktop. And, it's maybe as simple, cement's pretty expensive. Concrete work is a little more expensive than pavement. But I thought maybe it was a functional reason.
I
why
did.
they It looks nicer, right?
I wasn't expecting that question, but
Okay.
I don't have
All right,
that
well, it's not-
answer
it's
for you
not-
right now,
It's
but
not critical to this
Yeah,
discussion, here, but it might.
I do know that the sidewalks are probably a smaller part of the project versus the parking lot, I will say that we've discussed and we would, probably do it as an alternate, but we've discussed, over more vehicles, we have heat in that sidewalk from however many years ago somebody put it. And it's by far the sidewalk that held up until the tree rolled it up, but that's a easy in and out of the building all the time, is that something that we would research for our other entrances to get people in and out of the building, safely? As much as we shovel and stuff, there's still ice and there's still salt and that's working and we still have You know, some of the falls are just, there's nothing you can do, like, although they don't happen in front of motor vehicles because that's always there. You know, and it's not something that stays on. You would think the cost would be incredible, but technology has really come a long ways with that sort of what they call ice melt, where it's not near as expensive as it used to be.
You may not be able to answer this, but going forward, if we approve the engineering, then they're going forward with the project, so as we go on every other project, 50,000 out front here means a $500,000 project.
Yeah, I'm right on with you. And 100,000 if you did both, you're talking, you know, a million, you know, or just over that's a very good, he brings that up every time and he's pretty spot on. I would agree, that's a good way to.
And what have we budgeted for it? I defer to Mr. Shaw.
So I gotta agree with Melissa. I don't know how you pay for the engineering if you're never gonna pay for the paving. So that's kind of where we're at. That's where we got the last time, but the last time we came in, the bid was 200,000, I think, less than what we expected on the paving, and we still didn't do it. And so we just wasted the money on engineering. At the same time, there's no question we could have a lawsuit or workers' comp claim tomorrow that could end up costing us more than paving all the parking lot. So you kind of got to weigh that out, but there has to be a plan on how you would ever pay for this with our fund balance as low as it is. I mean, I don't know how you do this now without borrowing for it. At the time, we could have paid cash for it, and you'd probably, you know, got away half as much. By the time you get done engineering and paving this, it's probably $1.5 million to do the whole thing, which the whole thing probably needs doing. So we have to come up with a plan, and you've got to be willing to borrow. The piggy bank is empty. There's no money to pull from fund balance. When we do the budget this fall, I can't believe we could even put fund balance in to help relieve taxes like we've done in the past. We're at a level that we haven't been at. God, it's the lowest level that I've seen since the first year I was here. So we're in a bad spot, and I don't know why you'd go forward with this unless you had a plan. If we want to do it, and it needs doing because of the damn workers' comp and the loss of liability, that could be more than what it actually costs to pay. I've been here working on the budget last fall, on days when the building was closed and it would rain or something. You look out and like, wow, it's gotten tremendously worse. You can't see it when there's cars parked there, but when you come in here and it's empty and you can look out the window and see it, it's pretty bad. But you still have to have a plan. We have to have a plan for everything fiscally going forward because we're not in very good shape. Al's usually the one that tells you, and I'll argue with him a little, and usually I've been right. But at this time, neither one of us can find anything rosy at the end of this rainbow. There's no pot of gold at this one. You know, the leprechaun went home.
Brian, I certainly understand your point, about cost and so on and fund balance. However, this is an accident waiting to happen. And how long are we gonna kick the can down the road?
I think I was here, when we first started, and it wasn't the money that stopped us from doing it. It was the fact that there was a big giant plan for the entire complex. We're deferring to that complex, we're gonna knock down, the DPW building over there. We're gonna expand this, we're gonna do this, do that, and everything else. And we held up primarily for that reason, because that was imminent, we're gonna do that. So we kicked the can down the road, and the sidewalk and paving, the paved areas need to be done back then. A lot of reasons, because of stormwater underneath it, and you can see the sinkage. Like Brian said, come in here in the morning. We come here every once in a while in the morning when we're gonna trip, and after there's a rain, come here, look when it's raining, and see what the condition of that parking lot is. And it's just not gonna get better. And this is a potentially serious safety issue. Like Brian said, this could cost us in disability and workman's comp, everything else. And more importantly, we've known the condition of the parking lot. And if there's gonna be something happen, it does happen. They're gonna look and say, you knew this happened. You know the condition. It's your fault, Board of Supervisors, for not stepping up and fixing this problem. You've known that a safety issue for years and it's getting worse.
Well, what's in the budget that we can, that can be the bill payer for this?
Well, I think the first part is we have to figure out, how to pay for the engineering. I think the default position is we won't be paving for at least a year.
Right.
Are we gonna have to borrow for it? That's the decision we'll have to make. We're gonna borrow for it or not borrow for it. I don't wanna borrow either. But
The solution is 40% tax increase. It's your-
I'm pretty sure those are.
That's the solution. And it takes care of it. 40% will do it.
there's
For the
one
first
more
year,
that says-
maybe you get down to 30% the second year. I have a question.
Sure.
Or a comment. I mean, I know that it's getting heavy in here with guilt on all of our shoulders. But we started that conversation 8, 10 years ago.
Yep.
And what shut it down, there was a lot of things. Well, one of the major ones was the old highway building. And I can remember shortly after you arrived, 2 or 3 years in your tenure here, that you said how bad a shape that roof was. And that the heating system was gonna fail, and I know there was some emergency work done on it. And that was the other thing that stopped this whole discussion on the parking lot. Cause that sits right in the middle of everything. And that created the large campus study, which kind of fizzled
Sure.
out
So-
because there's no money. Now, are we gonna just forget about that? What's the life expectancy on
So-
that building?
So I'll answer. It's a question, comment, or respond to it.
Sure.
That has not changed. We've lived that around. We've spent a lot of money on that heating system. That roof, we have not spent money on because it's past that point.
Right.
That- So what we did was, if you remember, we had a new DPW superintendent, right? We were in the process of all that. We went to the DPW, what were your priorities? And at that time, the priorities were Middle Falls and Fordham. Those two buildings were in the worst condition. But this one really in the same bad condition, but at the time, we were more willing to bite off those two projects first. So we're currently doing that. We haven't changed path. You know, I would give you this originally, when we had the old administrator and the old DPW superintendent, that building was the highest priority for them at the time. Okay? I wasn't gonna argue with them anyway, them or Deb, who said Middle Falls, because you went to them all. We walked them all, right? We went to them and we saw how bad a shape they were in. There was no disagreement that really all needed to be done. It was only what we could afford and what we could do in order. So we're in that process right now, Dan. I don't know, obviously I do know because I'm here at all the meetings. We don't have the money right now, so that plan's still there, but it's sitting there and I'm gonna keep limping that building around. But the next thing you're gonna hear from me, when we do have, is that's the next priority.
Yeah, oh,
It's never changed.
I'm not criticizing.
But you can't
No,
not do anything to the parking lot because of that building. Like, that's not a good, like, here we are, how many years later? One, we're not gonna change the front of this building, you know, sure, we'll, a row of parking during demo, but we can actually just say, listen, you have to stay out of this, from that sidewalk over during construction of that building is off limits. We were under the understanding that, wow, that's all gonna get tore up if you take that building down. That's all gonna change. Well, that's not necessarily true. We set the standards when we do the job. Like, we can say, no, we don't want that parking lot tore up. Don't touch it. We just had it done. We're gonna work from here forward. You know, if we did do that building, I'm not arguing, I'm not here to argue money. These guys are the money guys. I'm just the project. These are still need to be done. The
And I'm
priority,
not pointing the
priority's
finger
still
at you.
there.
I apologize if I sounded that way.
but the priority's still there.
Scott,
It seems to me that, and maybe this is because I'm new, I don't know the ins and outs, but it seems to me we have engineers, we have all the equipment through DPW to do this. Why don't we do this in-house?
Those questions were asked 10 years ago.
And the answer is still the same every time. They're not set up to do, no, I'm not a paver. So don't, but I get the same answer every time. We are not set up to do paving. We're set up to do a road. We do repetitive work, which is sloped one way from the center to the outside. We're not set up, you know, with the equipment. We don't have GPS on our bulldozers and everything for grading from there all the way to here to this drain. We don't have, you know, we're not set up. And last time I was told this 10 times, and then right in the public meeting, they said we could do it. Okay? I don't know why they said that at the time, because we went for a walk 1 hour later. And we made it to the back parking lot and they said they couldn't. Once they looked at the scope of work. So when also, these are big projects. The other thing that we have to take in consideration is when we put this out to bid, he's probably gonna have to start on a Friday afternoon. And you're gonna have to have a certain amount of work done by Monday morning. You know, it's probably gonna be a lighted project. Our DPW, I don't know, and this isn't a shot at them. They're not set up to do that. When in their schedule are they gonna pave our parking lots? Are you gonna put roads to the side and have them do parking lots? Or are you gonna, you know?
Yeah, Brian, then they. So a couple of questions on your last one. I'm gonna go there first. Can we reach out to GE and be allowed to park there? If people just walk this way and nobody in the parking lot, that would make the most sense to me if they would allow that. And I don't know.
We would have to talk, but I do know that that fence is a very tight subject. You
I
don't
know
go
it is.
across, you don't put snow over there, you don't let a branch fall over there, they don't let us over there. I can't imagine that there would be any reason they would ever let us in there.
I
Right now.
agree, but I think it should be asked.
Sure.
The other thing was if this building was taken down, would that environmentally change what they would demand of us in a parking lot? I mean, if you built it
It wouldn't.
already, I get they don't, but all of a sudden they make you do,
So-
maybe it has to be green grass, maybe we can't even have anything there. for
Well,
parking.
I think
don't
it
know
would
the
be,
answer
I
to
think
that.
it'd be a combination. I don't have those figures with me, right? I mean, that would be part of the engineering and they would tell us what we'd have to do. I would assume, Brian, that would have to be some unpermeable surface, you know, out there. There would have to be some sort of green space. Sure, we'd expand our parking, but if those buildings come down, I would imagine we are short now. We're up to the old codes, but we're not changing anything. When we change something, we're probably gonna have to have some green space out there.
And so if the building was moving, say over to where the annex was, because we've talked that that's possibly where highway goes. So you're still $1 million in demolition and site ready, right out the door, maybe 2 million. I don't know what that cost would be. Then when you get the building built, you'd have another 1 million of demolition and site work on this side. So this doesn't go up by $50 at a time. This goes up millions at a time. And that's why I don't think we're in the situation to do it unless there's a long-term plan to actually figure how you're gonna fund this, borrow for it, whatever we're doing.
So you're talking about the project,
The
not the
whole
short,
project,
not parking lot.
well, it would all enter in if you wanted to do it in one, but I don't know that you wanna do it in one. You might want one bite at a time, but it may be smarter to do it all at once if you're borrowing anyway and get a lower interest rate.
I think
I
that
just
is
don't
a
know the
conversation, like, you do one big capital project and say, we're gonna do it all. These ones are coming to them, I don't know, that's a conversation that you guys would make, for right now.
Yeah, you've been waiting. I think spending any money right now on engineering stuff is just a waste, because you have no idea where you wanna go or what you wanna do. And that engineering study is only gonna be for this part of a project. You're just wasting money, because you're.
Well, this
engineering
would, sorry,
study
this would be
results-
this would be the job manual, this would be the construction manual. This
Yeah.
would be the blueprints that they would come, we put out the bid, this is the only way we're gonna get a
Well,
price.
what I'm saying is, until a decision is made what you want to accomplish, the engineering study should be a result of that decision.
I
It
think,
shouldn't be the guiding light going forward.
I think we have to go back in, because right now, this is, really, it's just administration and everybody else. You know, the priority right now is we need to do something with the parking lot. I don't think, in our opinion, we should wait for that project to happen.
I know who's got their hands up. I'm going by order. Lance?
All right, I guess I've got to be a no right now, but what would get me to yes would be hearing from someone on the budget side saying, we can't kick this can down the road anymore, but here's a can we can kick. You know, if something is safety related or something is, you know, legally required, that normally puts to the top of the stack when it comes to funding something.
Yeah.
So what doesn't meet that requirement that is being funded right now? is my
Just so
question.
you know, I don't take it personally that if
I know.
you say no to this project because we don't have the money, that's not, I'm here to present the project as requested. So you can discuss that and you can say yes or no. I'm just gonna give you the facts.
Yeah, Bob next.
This discussion always goes exactly the same way. We talked about, holy crap, we got holes in the parking lot, the catch basin falling down. We had our last facilities meeting, we had 16 falls on the parking lot things. And we say, well, geez, we ought to work on paving the parking lot. Next thing you know, we're talking about knocking down buildings and grading the property, planting trees and whatever else we're doing. I think we're at the stage now where we can't do grandiose plans. I think we gotta Band-Aid things and fix them when we need to fix them. And, you know, we're not gonna be able to afford to completely transmogrify the campus here. We're gonna have to keep people from falling in holes. I think that, you know, we're talking about paving a parking lot and that's it. If we want to pave the parking lot, figure out how to do it.
I was gonna agree with that, but I was gonna say it a little different. You know, the first time when we had the first grandiose parking lot, I was here most of you. Not only it wasn't just the cost and we had some other things pop up, I really disagreed with how the engineers laid a lot of the parking lot that first time. But we're not gonna get these buildings done. We're arguing over $1 million here fixing the parking lot. We're not gonna get 25 million on buildings done out here, and we need to probably fix this, and it's only gonna get more expensive. Much as I hate to spend money, we probably gotta take care of it.
Scott?
So, put you on the hot seat now, but no, I'm really
Pretty
not,
warm
I'm
already.
not satisfied with your answer to that because we're paying $100,000 for engineering. We have engineers in-house. Why aren't we utilizing them for these projects to save the county money?
Yeah. I mean, there's mechanical engineers, there's civil engineers, there's electrical engineers, there's architects. And we're using a firm that's gonna probably draw all of those into one to do this parking lot. You're gonna have, you know, your mechanical.
Translation.
We don't have that.
Multiple skills.
So,
We've,
all right,
a company that has all those, you know, they pull them into one project and.
So,
maybe that ship sailed, but still, we have all the equipment and the manpower to do this, and it's not, it wouldn't interrupt their paving schedule because
BBW has said they can't do it.
Huh?
BBW has said they cannot do it.
Superintendent.
Superintendent.
There's a huge difference between.
I'm confused. Don't they work for us?
If they can't do the job,
Huh?
if they can't do the job, and they say they can't do the job.
It's not about the scheduling so much as it's about the know-how. They're used to scheduling roads, and from what I understand from the superintendent, it's just a completely different project. And they just don't have the experience, know-how to do something like this.
Scott, you ever park out front, you're gonna see that parking lot. It is perfect, graded, pitched to the drains. You'd think it was done by a professional.
On the second track, just so you know.
But
That was
hey,
done twice, a lot.
But now,
But
man,
it's because we're not used to it.
man, they train now, right? They're trained.
I like the guys, I think they do a great job on our roads. I don't have anything bad to say, and you're trying to get me to say something bad about them. I'm not gonna do that, because there's nothing, but they've told us 10 times, ever since I've been here, they even said they are not set up to do parking lots. The one little snafu was when we had a fill-in superintendent, right? And he said, yes, but then when we actually went around, we couldn't do it. That's the only time. At no other point has DPW ever come to me and said, we can do that for you. They can do the roadway in, they can do from the light in, that's the road, that's what they're used to doing.
So,
Pat, have we, this would be technical assistance. And potentially you've got stormwater treatments that need to be done. Have we applied for like graduation and media grant or technical assistance?
I don't know that answer.
we have to have engineering done before we did that.
PM.
You have to know the scope and the cost.
You tell me what to do and I can,
We can
I
have
mean,
a
I
conversation.
can carry that forward, you know,
We
I
can't
can
afford it, so.
definitely
I
look
don't
at
know
it.
why we're.
The first is that in order to do the study, in order to get help, we have to get an engineering study of the cost. It's not the engineer. So here we are. We have a parking lot that 8 years ago needed to be done. It's gotten worse. We have 16 falls as documented in our thing. We need to go forward. We're gonna have to spend money for engineering. How we fund it, we can look at, number one, we can look at WEA grants, thanks Sue for that. We also will probably have to bond the rest of it. So I think we're at a point where we can't kick this down the road anymore. You know, one workman's comp and disability is gonna put us in a bad shape. Sam?
Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion that we move this project forward on the public parking access only. To consider that getting done, to put the engineering in place so we can do what we need to do on that. And I don't know if we need to move it from here to finance or where we go from here. That's my motion needs to be. You know, yeah. We're fortunate that none of those accidents have ended in fatalities. But then it's too late for us to go back and say, well, we wish we had done it different. You know, we talked to our employees.
Like by Jim Nolan.
Well, that's
That's the next thing.
If you go to finance, and then really that's where the money
And they'll have to-
discussion should happen.
Budget
right?
officer out there.
Finance.
Budget officer said we'd have to borrow money.
Even somebody,
They're basically saying there is nothing in the budget, take out of the budget to pay for this. That's what I'm hearing.
And we got a number on that, motion, cost, is that the $50,000 resolution?
I'm gonna be the third person in the room to respectfully ask, don't pass the 104 if you're not ready to pull the trigger on the million. It's an absolute act of futility to spend $100,000 and not do the project.
So.
Was I the first?
Can I, for these grants that you're researching that you might possibly use or not use, are those grants gonna be something that once you find them, oh, we started the project or we don't cover it, it has to be. I mean, should you wait to look into that?
So I've had conversations with Laura Oswald, about grants that might fit the parking lot, and we didn't come up with anything, because it is a municipal parking lot. I believe the discussion wasn't something, that we should be funding for, it's the safety of our public and our employees. So we had that conversation, I'll revisit it with Laura, and see if there's anything out there, but that was the first idea, was to try to get some kind of grant to pay for it. We just didn't come up with anything at the time. We'll revisit it.
Chairman. So in that response, but the comment on El's comment there, that's the purpose of moving into finance, is that you have more supervisors that are actually at the table to vote to make that decision. Are they ready to pull the trigger?
Just so you know, if you were to do what you just proposed, the engineer would be $52,375.
How much?
52,375. That's for the scope of work in the public area of the map that you just.
Only question.
The one thing I would like to state out of this is that we're moving into finance to find the money. We've got the budget officer sitting there and says there is no money. So what I don't understand what we're doing. If we haven't got the money, we've got to decide now, are we gonna borrow $1 million to go along, to keep going with this? That's part of the decision you're voting on.
Finance committee will decide that.
But
We're gonna have to have a discussion as to what it would cost to finance the thing and borrow and all that. And that's gotta happen before finance, when we lay that out for you.
And will that figure out what is gonna raise the tax, what's required and tax raising to do this?
For the bar, yes.
Because that's the bottom line.
All right,
And
well, if you're going 40% like you said earlier, that'll be it.
hey, if the sales tax is flat, it might not be.
All right,
So we should get that, can we get that information before we?
we're moving to finance to get the information.
Would it hurt to revisit this with Deb and see if there's something that we can provide them with? that
We have.
will save us
Yeah.
money?
We have,
Had many conversations.
this isn't the first time.
Superintendent, yeah.
As a
All right.
former supervisor,
Call the
as a-
question.
Like, I'm not really like the name, can't do that.
Did we get a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion by Sam, second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails. All right, next.
All right, I'm just gonna give you a quick update on fire alarm progress. That job is in the second phase. We're online with the new fire alarm system.
Works really well, I must
It,
say.
it worked well already. We already had a fire alarm for good reason though. I mean, it worked the way it was supposed to. The second half of the job, you'll see them around, is they're pulling all the old wire from the old system out of the ceilings before they go home. So the old system will be demoed. Other than that, by next month, I'll give you an update. I think we have some contingency built into that project and we're hoping that. I haven't seen too many big issues throughout it, so I'm hoping they get some contingency to that.
One last item.
Okay, and then the last item is the Fort Ann update, which I'd like to go over with there.
Hey, can we get, the county administrator done?
Before you go into executive.
Before going to executive session?
I think we're going to do that before you go.
Okay. Melissa?
First item that I have is the county vehicle fleet management system policy. This was actually forwarded from public safety. It was actually 2 months ago, and then we've had several conversations and meetings to try to come up with the best wording and establish the best policy going forward. So this is it. I think you all received it in your packets, just what I understand. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we would just like to adopt the policy so that we can share it with the departments. And this is for the GPS.
Pam, for a second. Pam? Lance, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next.
Next item is the subject of the food trucks. The board approved last year that we had food trucks come to the municipal center. It's on Tuesdays, so we call it Food Truck Tuesday. So we're looking to offer that again, mostly to employees, but of course, if the public's here and wants to visit the food trucks as well, we'd like to start that in May and go right through the fall. So if you're okay with that, we'd like to get that information out, try to get some vendors in to respond.
Motion, second. Pam? All in favor? Aye.
Doesn't have the same ring as Taco Tuesday. Just
No, I had a question before you voted, but I won't change anything. What did it cost, right? Did we didn't incur any cost from it, so
We
it
did
was all
not.
positive, right?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
no, we just gave them the parking.
I just
area.
wanted that to be said.
We earn
no
the
cost to
happiness
us.
of our staff to be able to go out there. and-
They did give us an option.
Step in a hole.
Gotta pay for the
process. You can bring
Hey.
a Sue, Dan, you can bring a
Oh.
truck. Sue,
I think the other thing,
Do we have to, do we get certificates of insurance?
really.
Yes, oh, yes, yeah, we make sure there's insurance, and especially with the condition of the parking.
opposed? Opposed?
Sorry.
Carried. Al.
Oh, I have one more item, if I could, please.
Patty,
I have a-
no.
Sorry, Patty Hunt.
Go ahead.
There is one other item I wanted to bring to your attention. So obviously some of our employees at the county are volunteer firefighters. Currently, we don't have any provision in the employee handbook that allows volunteer firefighters to respond to fires in any of the towns if it takes place during their working shifts. So my question to you is, would you like to have something in the handbook that allows county employees to respond to fires if they are a volunteer firefighter with the approval of a supervisor in their department? If so, then I'd like to forward that to personnel to develop the wording, but it's something we haven't had written down before. And I would like to make it as strict as, I mean, it has to be a fire. It can't be a cat in a tree response. It would have to be an actual multi-alarm fire, I think, possibly.
I'd support walking down that road at least a little bit and fleshing out what a policy would look like. We do that at the village.
You do?
We have against gas laws.
I'm sorry. No, I love that. I'm sorry. But
The trees in this.
Cats left out of this conversation.
what I guess I should have mentioned, what I'd like to do if you want to, of course, is to have the volunteer firefighters leave work with the approval of the supervisor. It would be paid leave if you wanted to, so that they're not losing anything from the county as far as pay. So they would be paid for their shift. That's what we're thinking.
Bob, you had a question?
There are some good policies floating around some of the towns and other counties. Actually, that define it, it's gotta be a working structure fire, like you said, you're not gonna go be fire or respond to potential car fires and stuff, it's gotta be a working structure fire and they can't incur overtime. If they get done in time. The one thing the firefighters don't like, most of the policies say that when the fire is declared out, you'll come back to work. Which pisses all the rest of them off, because they gotta stay clean up. But, there's a lot of good policies that most can model this off from, so I think it'd be a worthy discussion.
Jake?
And I agree too. That we really should look at. The only thing that comes to mind at me is if we have DPW people out on a paving project or whatever. One, how would they leave the scene? Because usually everybody's riding in the same truck. And even if we did allow them, would it be the supervisor on scene to cut them loose, or would it be the supervisor back here? You know, it's just, the DPW is a little gray area.
Yeah.
I'm the pessimist in this. I think you're going down a road that you get started down it, you're gonna offend people if you don't walk all the way. And just what Jay has said, all the potential issues, I would be very skeptical of doing it, even though it's a great idea. I mean, it's just, I don't think we're big enough entity to support that kind of kindness. That's me.
Charlie?
And probably, there are a lot of policies out there, Bob mentioned that, and we have a long distance we could be traveling, so if Putnam had a fire, only if the chief demanded, I would suggest, because it's an hour to get up there anyway. So we've got to factor in a lot more things than we were if we were tightening this.
Most of the policies say if you're working within your township,
That would
so if they're
change
paving,
things.
they're paving over an Argyle on 49, and there's a fire, then with the permission of the supervisor, they can go. Well, most of them specify a location like that.
So we have a consensus to move forward with it.
At this point, I would say it.
All right, any direction?
Yes, I'll look into it.
Al?
Policy.
I have, two asks and an update. The first ask is for a overnight stay for my deputy and a member of the staff from the IT department. They are coming out with a new tax collection system. We've been waiting 8 years for this thing. They're finally ready to demo it to us. I'd like to send my deputy and an individual from IT. They'd be there for 2 nights. It's coming to committee because it wasn't in my travel plan, because we just found out about it, obviously. The good news is it's no extra money, because the training that you normally send me to in May in Syracuse, this year will be given in Queensbury. I will not be going to my overnights in Syracuse. So Yes, you're stuck with me, Chair. So, budget, it'll be budget neutral. I just need the approval of this committee. 'Cause it's not-
Motion by Lance, who have a second? Second, Jim? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carry. Next.
Second one, since we're having an appetite to borrow money, I need to ask for, or I want to ask for a waiver from procurement from my bond counsel. It's a very specified legal field. Not everybody does it. I'm aware of two that service our area. So I couldn't get 3 quotes for you, probably if I wanted to. The one that I have a longstanding relationship with. He's effective, he's efficient, he's not out of the realm of any costs that we've incurred before, so I'd like to continue with our current.
Need a motion. Lance, second by Tim and Jim and Sam. All in favor?
Thank you all. And the last is an update almost immediately after the adjournment of Friday's board meeting. I had a discussion with the clerk of the board in her office, and thank you, Mr. Hahn. Going forward, there will be no authorizations of overdrafts. Everything that comes to the board of the supervisors for pre-audit, if there is not money in the budget, it will not be entered for payment until such time as it has gone through finance. Not oversight, finance. If it makes it through finance, they can then enter the voucher, and if it fails on the floor, we'll pull it. There will be no more, let's wait and see what the number is gonna be. You will know every month immediately. Anybody who's walking that overdraft line, and you can either act on it or not act on it at that time. So rather than tell the department head, well, come to us when you know the final number, each month they will come to you when there's an issue budgetarily. It's not fair that you find out about budget shortfalls in March, and I'll own that. You will now find any budget deficiencies monthly at finance.
Thanks, Al. Good job. All right, now entertain a motion to go into executive session by Jim, second by Sam and Dan.
No, this is discussion, right?
What's that?
The discussion that before you go into, and Dan, there should be a certain level of sharing of either what the problem, the issue or something is, so that, no, publicly, so that the rest of the world knows there's a problem and we have to discuss it. Is there, how much can be shared here?
Possible contract negotiations. For the
No. Ford and highway.
For the Ford and highway to.
Yes.
Okay.
Any reason?
Contract negotiations and or potential litigation.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, Deb, tell us when you're ready.